Okay, I'm starting. Oh, I did not plug you guys in or show you what's going on here.
Guys, after the review on Saturday at 8 a.m., cool and watch the scrimmage of Jason Boys Water Polo versus Howard Westlake, you'll get extra credit points on your next test. Right? Is that okay if I announce that?
That's a really good idea. That's not going to happen, but I mean, what's your next test? You want extra credit on the final?
You get extra, you get 5 extra credit points. You actually get
Considering we took our last test about like a couple days ago. Automatic. Okay, last time we went through, we were talking about industrialization and all the other issues with industrialization, good and bad, right? In the end, it's mostly positive rather than negative. It starts off a little rough though, with lots of child labor and urbanization. Ronan, are you playing the game too?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we went into ideologies of change, and we did conservatism, and we have to have some ideas of conservatism. Can you give me some examples of conservatism, people? Edmund Burke. Okay, good. Metternich, but how about some things that happen? Concert of Europe would definitely be one where they step in and they put down revolutions. They did one in Spain, which I did not talk about yesterday. And where they often went wrong, actually, is interestingly enough, is they let what country actually go free from Ottoman Empire?
Greece.
It is Greece. Okay, the Greek Revolution. Okay. Other conservative ideas. Robert, over here. How about the Carlsbad Decrees? Right, you know, where they're gonna try to clamp down on some of those liberal ideas, and yeah. So, and then we talked about liberalism a little bit, and we went into some of the ideas of liberalism. Okay, like utilitarianism is going to be one of them, and keep in mind here, in the early 1800s, radicals would be one who want all men to be able to vote. Okay, I know it sounds so. And liberalism and laissez-faire kind of go together. They're like mates. They like each other. Okay, all right. With it. So good. Liberal revolutions. Well, clearly, like the French Revolution of 1830 and the 1848 revolutions would all go under some of those liberal revolutions of getting more rights. Okay, and the big one that I think we've talked about is nationalism. That comes up in the 1800s, where a group of people who consider themselves similar, mostly because they speak the same language, okay, want independence from whatever crazy country has them, Austria usually, it seems like around this time, or they want to unify together, okay? Totally common sense. Yeah, you want your nation. And you want, yeah, you want self-determination as well to decide what you want to do. Okay, and then we talked about the Zollverein. We talked about revolutions in the Austrian Empire, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last thing where we stopped off, and this is where we're starting today, is talking about socialism. That's right, everyone. We have the little marks in our lives sometimes for everything to kind of come through.
Honestly, I'm not a big deal for like fascist comments.
I'm hoping that all you at home, if anybody ever watches these, because honestly, I don't know if you actually do, can't hear what Jack just said. Okay. Okay, so what do we have here? Here are the key beliefs of socialism. And if you remember, and I'm not going to obviously go make another one of my fabulous umbrellas on the board, because you just mock me, everybody, and tell me it looks like a like a jellyfish, I think is what you guys thought it looked like. Okay, so the whole thing, we have this umbrella of socialism, and under it we can put lots of things. We can put Joe Schmo socialism, which means that you do have a more equal distribution of wealth. Usually that is done through taxes, high taxes, if people make a lot of money, right? And then we would also might have, let's say, labor unions can be socialistic because you're not being paid by the quality of work you do, okay? Everybody is paid on a level, Everybody with me here with the labor unions? Okay. And then you've got the big bad one, an awesome one is obviously Karl Marx and Marxism or communism. Okay. Oh, wait, there's one more. What about utopian socialism? I forgot about that one as well. Okay. All right. So what do we have here? If the existing distribution of wealth is unjust, the haves have more than they will need. The have-nots don't have enough to survive. And therefore, resources and means of production should be owned by the community rather than by individuals. Profits of human labor should be equally distributed. Okay. All right. Now the utopian guys, we had a lot of examples of these utopian ones. The one I think we used in class was Robert Owen. Okay, he is a Scottish, and by the way, if you think about what Robert Owen did as an industrialist, he's actually a pretty good guy. Okay, you know, he's the one that actually went in front of the Sadler Committee and talked about the kids and was like, I let them off at whatever time, but the parents want the money. That's part of the issue with child labor as well, right? The parents are like, hey, my kid needs to work because we need the money, you know, and he said, and then I set up schools for him, but they just fall asleep, okay? Yeah, so Robert Owen is actually going to, so here's the deal with the utopian socialists. They want to create societies based on cooperation rather than competition. So as you know, the law of competition is part of Adam Smith's deal, right? That if companies compete, you get a better quality and a cheaper price, okay? All right. So they really wanted to set up these ideal communities, okay? And for example, Owen builds a model factory in Scotland with great housing for his workers, schools for the children. And then he goes over to the United States and makes New Harmony, Indiana, where pretty much everybody was supposed to share in the profits, but nobody worked. So nobody really had any profits, and that's a complete failure, okay? All right. The utopians do establish a number of cooperative communities. All of their experimental efforts are going to fail. Now, Louis Blanc, he's another good example because in the 1848 revolutions, he sets up the Paris Commune. Do you guys remember that? Where if you didn't have a job, you'd meet up at some place and then they would come up with government jobs for you to do, like sweeping the streets and, you know, stuff like that. Okay. And that's shut down, obviously, right away, you know, when the new government comes in there. Now, the big bad guy is going to be this idea of Marx. Did we do this last time? I mean, awesome. Sorry, Jack. The most awesome of them all is the Marxian socialist idea here. Okay, and by the way, Marx and Engels together. Don't you love how Engels gets no credit for this at all? It's not. It's not called. It's called Marxism, not Engelsism. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Your PowerPoint was so good, and you gave him credit. You guys are right. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. They really, honestly, they were calling this scientific. So like scientific critique and science, they were calling it like scientific socialism, okay, with it. And so we got Frederick Engels, who's the German-born rich guy. I mean, his parents, I think, owned factories and stuff, who wrote The Condition of the Working Class in England. And don't you remember, he says he charges them with like wholesale robbery and murder, okay, you know, stuff like that. These guys are really, really like positive people, as you can tell. Okay. I mean, yeah, obviously, okay, that was a joke. Okay. These guys, everything they write is super depressing. And then Engels is going to befriend Karl Marx. By the way, they're both German. And they moved to England for research and writing. Okay. In 1848, they published the Communist Manifesto. And what they talk about is how all of history has to do with class struggle. And they go all the way back, like, I don't know, they probably go back to, I've never read it, to be honest. Like, I know they go back to the Romans, and they probably go back to the Greeks, but they're always like, we have the haves and the have-nots, okay? So the haves in this time frame are going to be the bourgeoisie now, and the have-nots are the proletariat, okay? All right. So here is the end argument that we're going to have here. These two classes, eventually what's going to happen is you're going to have, by the way, they're internationalists. They are not about a country. These guys believe that there's going to be a worldwide revolution in which you will have a dictatorship of the proletariat. Okay, they're going to take over, and And you're going to create this beautiful, wonderful society. Anytime someone says dictatorship is something, kind of like the hairs on the back of my neck kind of go up just a little bit there. Okay, there now in their society, you take only what you need. Okay, you produce and you help, but you take only what you need. And it means no private ownership of the means of production at all. I think I need to get rid of that. If I get rid of that, you can't see my face anymore on the thing, right?
Yeah.
Good. That makes me happy.
It's a reaction.
Okay, now let's talk about where Marxist socialism goes. You guys, this kind of makes sense. If you are a worker in a factory and you hear this idea, would this not resonate with you? Absolutely. So it becomes extremely, extremely popular. Hi, Mr. Mishu. Popular.
Extremely popular.
Yeah.
Do you notice that as we get closer to the AP
Oh, you don't have to stand up,
test,
it's okay.
we actually have more people in the classroom now?
I've got Jeff in there. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, you can
but
take off.
he-
He's fine.
But he can stay in there, and then
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lock the door and tell him.
Yeah, just tell them to
He
close
said I
it.
was gonna lock him in. I said, yeah, I'm gonna lock you in. You're gonna have to spend the night. Did you bring your sleeping bag? And he's looking at me. You know how he is. I go, Jeff, I'm kidding. I love Jeff.
Dependable Jeff. Yeah, he's all good.
All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's Marxist socialism, and remember they're internationals, and so eventually what we start to get is this is going to morph into, of course, political parties. Okay, we've got movements, labor unions. Okay, all of these are going to be kind of influenced by this. Do you guys remember the social democratic parties? Okay, those are kind of the Marxist parties of Germany, and I think France, they call themselves social democrats as well. Okay, good. Lastly, they had every year, because remember they're internationals, like a special international day and convention, and it was always on May 1st. Okay, so they would have, and they would get together and protest. And today we still have workers who protest on May 1st. I guess we'll find out like in 2 days or 3 days what's going to go on there.
Yeah.
I thought that happened like a month ago. I thought it was like April 1st. I knew it was April 1st. I just thought. I thought we were at the end of May.
We have no idea what Drew's talking about right now. Something about being confused about how the calendar after April comes to May. Okay, back on off your calendar issues here, Drew. All right, suffrage. Let's talk about suffrage in general. Number one, so you guys saw that in 1832, England expanded their franchise by like 3%, or not 6% or something. It was not very much, but that is a stepping stone. But what we are going to have is we have these groups before 1850 who are really going to advocate for universal male suffrage. And by the way, this is radical. This is like a crazy radical idea, right? And the one group you need to know are the Chartists, okay? They are the first large-scale European working-class political movement. They have their charter that had 6 reforms around male suffrage and political representation. Oh, the other thing they were getting rid of is those pocket boroughs and those rotten boroughs. Do you guys remember those? Where you would have members of parliament, 2 members of parliament for a town that had 30 people living there, and Manchester with 1 million has almost no representation at all. Okay, all of these are going to be taken care of in England by 1900, okay? And we went through and we talked about Gladstone and Disraeli and how these are the 2 guys that both of them wanted to, their opposite parties, expand the franchise because they wanted those people to vote for them as well and join their own party, okay? Now, in the end, we also will have the push for women, okay? I know, right? Like Flora Tristan is going to, by the way, I think Flora Tristan's also a communist, okay, that we're going to have in the 1920s. Isn't she like killed by the brown shirts? I think she is. Okay, but she's going to argue that progress in women's rights is directly related to the progress for the working class. She ties it together. And we go back to our original feminists, Olympia de Georges and Mary Wollstonecraft. I am unsure why in this right now I don't have Emmeline Pankhurst, because she would be a great example of the 1890s that moved toward like the suffragettes, okay? And wanting, of course, voting rights for women. Yeah.
No, I had to take a test.
Hi, Mason. I'm so glad you came, and don't listen to them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so Wollstonecraft.
Okay, but let's put it in time frame. 1700s, 1700s, 1900s. Pankhurst is 1800s, late 1800s.
So Wollstonecraft said that women, okay, appeared inferior.
That's because they,
Women were inferior.
oh, no, they're not getting the same educational opportunities, and therefore that's why you're thinking they're inferior.
Would we
They
say,
weren't appear all of it.
That's right.
would we say Wollstonecraft was like
Yes, I would. And then you could put de Jures in there. She's in the same time frame, either one of those, but they're around the same, they're contemporaries. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah, that would be a good one. She's guillotined. She's not guillotined for being a feminist, though. I think that she's a Girondist as well, which will get you killed at some point in the French Revolution. Okay, I mean, I believe that. I just added that in for you guys just for fun. Okay. All right. The last ism that I think we need to do, of course, is anarchism, which means that all forms of governmental authority are unnecessary and should be completely tossed out. Instead, you know what we need is a voluntary cooperation, everybody, a voluntary cooperation. Okay. All right. The best example of this guy is probably George Sorel. Okay. National myth inspired socialist, anarchists, Marxists, and fascists, whatever.
The whole bag.
I know, whatever. Mikhail Bakunin, I've never heard of him, but he shows up on our AP. I really haven't, but he shows up on like the AP framework as an example. Okay. I would be shocked if they ask you about anarchists. It's not going to happen. Okay. Hey, let's talk about reform, social reform. Okay, first of all, let's talk about what we have. After 1850, we have this era which we call the era of mass politics. And that means, honestly, that people are joining political parties and they're becoming more political. So this mass-based political parties emerge as sophisticated vehicles for social, economic, and political reform. Again, if you're going to use some really great examples, England's great because this is when they kind of do this. So we have the two groups, conservatism versus liberalism of the late 19th century. And these are the conservatives and liberals in Great Britain, okay, conservatives and socialists in France, and the Social Democratic Party in Germany. And we did a DBQ on these guys right here and some of the things that they want. And by the way, Bismarck actually passes them because he wants nobody to vote for them. How's that sound? Okay. The working class. Okay, so workers, remember, they start to create labor unions to represent their interests throughout the 19th century. And labor unions and movements eventually develop into political parties that promoted social and economic reform. You know what's interesting? This is very much like Solidarity in Poland in 1990, right? Don't you think? 1980s. Okay. Okay, so the Liberal Party in Britain is going to be overtaken by the British Labour Party, and the Labour Party is going to be socialistic, okay? And the German Social Democratic Party and the Russian Social Democratic Party, those are socialists / communists, okay? All right, here we go. This is later to, oh, sheesh. Didn't we do this one last time?
What is that?
Okay, I don't want to get into this because my own son got in trouble.
Do you see that this woman jumped in front of a horse at a horse race because she wanted women to vote? Do you have a ride home? Okay, we just want to make sure.
I got worried.
We know your mom's not here. How's that? Okay. All right. Feminists, let's go. Feminists, we're still on our isms, okay? Legal, economic, political rights for women, as well as improved working conditions. So what do we have? The British Women's Social Political Union, which I would never ask you to do anything, but these are things they did that you could put into an essay or short answer that are awesome. Organizing marches, cutting telegraph wires, heckling speakers, chaining themselves to the gates of Parliament. Oh, didn't putting yourself in front of a horse, or how about, remember they were starving themselves and then they were force feeding them? Okay.
When she threw in front of the horse, everyone's like, oh yeah, she's definitely feminist. She's
This is her right here. This is the jockey that's hurt as well. Do you see that?
Somebody jumps in front of a horse, I'm like, woman's right.
Like, she was sign right here, she's like, we're out there, just like, everyone's like, oh.
I'm not sure of the story.
The horse broke his leg and had to put it down.
This isn't about like the 1890s. Okay. All right. Let's get back to my girl, Emmeline Pankhurst. Emmeline Pankhurst actually founds the British Women's Social Political Union. Okay, and she actually was in it with her daughter, and her husband was like part of it too. It was like a family thing. Okay. The other one, if you want, is Barbara Lee Smith, Beaudeschon, which we didn't really talk about, so forget it. Okay, are you ready? Non-governmental reform movements. There's one in here that I think I didn't put in there okay, well, we'll see if it comes up here. But I want to talk about policemen too, because they start to add in policemen as well. Are you filling out the packet as we go?
Robert, come on, you don't need extra.
What is that one?
So we just grabbed legislation.
That works for me. Okay. Non-governmental reforms, many of them religious, assisted the poor and worked to end serfdom and slavery. Okay, so we're going to have religions step in here and reform. One of them is the Sunday school movement, education for working children in England. The temperance movement, stop drinking so much alcohol because it makes you a rat bastard. British abolitionist movement, which is, of course, buying and selling of slaves is going to be abolished in 1807. Okay, the owning of slaves in 1833 and slavery completely eradicated by 1840s, only in British, by the way, not in the United States. There were, though, inside England, there were at some point. Yeah. Okay. And then we've got Josephine Butler. I don't care about her. Okay, let's go. Institutional reforms. Okay, so they're going to do urban reform, and Edwin Chadwick is our fabulous and awesome sewer guy, right? Okay, he's like, hey, why don't we use water to flush out the sewage? Okay, and George Haussmann is hired by Napoleon III to redo Paris, but also widen the boulevard so no one can like protest anymore. Okay, so we're going to get urban sanitation and public health. Now, one more thing. With this, especially Haussmann, if you go to Paris, you're going to find out he put parks everywhere. So it's one of the things of urban reform. And New York City gets a remake also, and they get rid of some slums and put in Central Park. Okay. Yeah, well, he doesn't do it, but other people do. This is a trend, is to get rid of the slums and redo some of the city. Yeah. So public housing, public lighting, public transportation. Okay, you guys saw it's like the trolley cars, and with that picture on one of our tests that we had in Vienna. Okay, right, and parks. Okay, so yeah, reform is going to come. Okay. Do we need to do causation, or are you guys good? Industrial revolution, key concepts.
How can you connect the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution?
Very easily.
Easy. People are thinking scientifically, big inventions, better the production of goods.
Even more than that, when you can produce more with fewer people, it allowed people to free them up and not be farmers anymore and move to the city.
People had to move to the city.
Okay, so that's the big one. And you could tie in the enclosure movement, where they lost that bit of land that they could put a cow on, the commons. Okay, and that hurt them, and therefore they're looking for a job somewhere else. That's the tie in there. Okay. On this one, industrial revolution spread from Great Britain to the continent, where the state played a greater role in promoting industry. This is something you need to know. On the continent, okay, if we're going to look at causation, number one, they realized what Britain did, and number two, the state's going to help them. So it makes it a lot easier. So they were dominant through mechanization of textile, iron, and steel, transportation industries, and a favorable political climate, right? Okay. But as it spreads through Europe, it generally followed the British example. But of course, state sponsorship is going to be much larger on the continent itself. Okay, what else do we need to know here for key concepts? It shapes the experiences of everyday life depending on the level of industrial development, promoted the development of new social classes around Europe. Industrialization facilitated population growth, urbanization through Europe, and urbanization and population growth led to social dislocation for many people. Okay. And lastly, it's going to alter family structures and relationships for the bourgeois and the working class families. We talked about kind of the sphere of women. Okay. Right. The cult of domesticity where, especially if you're in the middle class, the women kind of stopped working. They were like masters of the home, you know, that sort of thing. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Keep in mind, if you're lower class, women always work, no matter what. You have to. There's no way to survive without it. Okay. Key concepts, again, by the way, these are straight from the College Board. Political revolutions and complications of industrialization triggered a variety of ideological, governmental, and collective responses, okay, which we just went through. Ideologies developed and took hold throughout society as a response to industrial and political revolutions. The big one, of course, that we're probably going to come across over and over ideology-wise is communism, right? You know, with them, I guess liberalism too would be another one that you could look at. And the government responding or created or exasperated by industrialization. So they are going to be pressured to act, okay? And that would be include like governmental acts would be like the Mines Act. What's the one where the kids don't? Factory Act, thank you. You know, and the Reform Act of 1832, Reform Act of 1867, where they're expanding franchise more, et cetera, et cetera. Da, da, da. Okay. Italy. It's so easy. Nationalism. Resume recording. Okay. Okay, Unit 7, let's talk about political perspective. Okay, we're going to go into nationalism. All right, so again, nationalism is the single most powerful ideology of the 19th and early 20th century. And so, you know, nationalists encourage loyalty to a nation. And by the way, it's not really a nation what it is. It's people with a common background, common stories, common culture. And usually it's done on language lines. Yeah, by ethnicity. And so the romantic idealism, liberal reform, political unification is going to be one of them. Chauvinism used to justify national aggrandizement, you know, stuff like this. Okay, so what are we going to get here? Nationalists opposed the Congress of Vienna settlement of legitimacy of dynasties or monarchies, okay, because they believe that power should lie in the shared nationality. This nationalism thing, it goes all the way up to today with like Catalonia trying to break away a couple of years, or or Chechnya, or any of the other things that we talked about in the last couple of weeks, like Yugoslavia breaking up. Palestine, another one. That again is nationalism when we get in there. Okay, so who are our nationalistic figures to start out with if you have to come up? By the way, I'm thinking short answer here on this one, right? Or essay, but really short answer. Cavour is a great one as well. But if we go back into the beginnings, we would use Johann Gottlieb Fichte, a German philosopher who founds the idea of German idealism, okay? And he's the one, remember the Volksgeist, the spirit of the people, and how he was looking for this culture, and every culture has one. He's not the one who was like, Germans are better than everyone else, okay? All right, and then we've got the Grimm brothers, who we've talked about before. Stories that are German in nature and scary to children, but apparently they put them together as fairy tales, and Disney jumps on them and makes lots of movies off them. Okay. By the way, the Third Reich is going to foster nationalism using these Grimm brothers stories. And lastly, we've got Giuseppe Mazzini, who is the father of nationalism in Italy. And he, in 1848, tried to unify Italy along with Garibaldi, and it's just a total fail. Okay. Oh, these Slavs. The Slavs, here's the thing, is like in the 1800s and the early 1900s, so the Slavs were talking about getting together and creating a country, particularly in the Balkans. The only problem is that once they end up being a country, we find out they hate each other, Yugoslavia. Okay, so Pan-Slavism, is a nationalist movement that emerged in the Balkan region. It's unity for the Slavic people. Nationalists object to the multinational states. And by the way, the big one here is the Austrian Empire, which has a lot of different Slavic groups in it. Okay, so again, they start off in Prague in 1848, and they don't really kill anyone major until 1914. Ha ha ha, Franz Ferdinand. Okay, there you go. Oh, by the way, the largest Slavic nation, of course, is Russia. Okay, the father, you know what? We're going to protect everyone because we're all Slavic. Yeah. Okay, Zionism. Are you guys tired of the isms yet? Because I am. Isms. Yeah, Jewish nationalism. Okay. Developed late in the 19th century as a response to growing anti-Semitism throughout Europe. You guys, and this is what I am not seeing in these, is like the whole idea or remembering that anti-Semitism starting like 1860 on. Okay, it's always been there. But here's the thing, is that they're really jumping on nationalism with it, right? Okay, they're seeing them as, oh, they're not French, they're Jewish. They're not German, they're Jewish, right? You know, so yeah, there you go. So the Christian Social Party, Karl Lueger is the mayor of Vienna, and that's where Hitler gets all of his great stuff from it. So these guys are like the beginnings of Nazism. Okay, now on the opposite end, we do have Jews who were going, why are we hanging around here anymore when all they do is they persecute us? And that would be like Theodor Herzl, okay, who is going to promote Jewish immigration into Palestine in an effort to form a Jewish state. Okay, he is the father of the modern state of Israel. Okay, now examples of anti-Semitism, which many of you very easily used beautifully in the last couple essays. Did you use one too? You used it as context. It was great. It was actually great context because it leads into it. The only problem is you said that Dreyfus was German and he's not. He's French. I'm talking to Drew, everyone, in case you were wondering. Okay. All right. Okay, so Alfred Dreyfus is a Jewish officer in the French, but here's the deal, is he's accused of being a spy for the Germans, and he's sentenced to life imprisonment. It is very clear very early on that this guy's completely innocent, okay? And so Catholics and monarchists and the army didn't want to be embarrassed, okay? They all fought to clear his name. In the end, he does get out, okay? You know, he comes back. He actually serves in World War I, you guys, okay, as an officer in the army. It is Emile Zola, one of these, well, he's into realism, okay, who writes The Accused, which he accuses the military judges of letting the guilty party go. Oh, they knew who did it too. Did I mention that? Yeah, well, yeah, he is French. Okay, realism is like making, like writing literature like exactly like it is, not you know. Yeah, it's in painting too. No, well, you will have you will have some lower classes in there as well. Yeah, definitely. So, anyways, keeping Dreyfus imprisoned, and Dreyfus is finally exonerated in 1906. There he is. Look at that. Okay, here's the deal. The Dreyfus affair, it really divides France, okay? And it reveals how much anti-Semitism you have across Europe, okay? So I want you to kind of keep in mind here, and this affair is gonna be one of the things that inspires Herzl, you know, for his call there. Okay, nationalism. Well, eventually Austria is gonna give in to the Magyars or the Hungarians and say, okay, you know what? We know you're just gonna revolt again, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you a separate country within Austrian Empire, okay? And then we're gonna change the name to make you happy to the Austro-Hungarian dual monarchy, okay? And that's what we have here. So they are independent, but under the same foreign policy. Does that make sense? So they rule themselves independently, but then they have the same king and the same foreign policy, okay? A united army as well. And now they're known as Austria-Hungary. Slavs, we just can't get rid of the Slavs, I'm just telling you. Okay. The dual monarchy made the Magyars happy, but it didn't help all the other 13 different ethnic groups that are in Austria. Okay. And the big one, of course, are the Slavic regions, like Bosnia-Herzegovina wants to be, well, Serbia wants them to be part of them. Okay, hard to say what they want. Okay, but that's what we're really going to get here. This pan-Slavism is going to be the major threat that we're going to get to Austria.
Did Austria-Hungary include Austria, or is it just Hungary?
Austria-Hungary, so the Austrian Empire itself at the time included today the countries of, ready? Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Herzegovina,
Hungary?
part of Bulgaria, maybe? I'm guessing now. Okay, right? It's huge. This is all it.
And
Okay.
Austria-Hungary was Austria-Hungary?
Yeah, but all of the other stuff too. So the old huge Austrian Empire is now going to be called Austria-Hungary.
Oh, there's
As
no
a-
name?
As a neighbor, okay, hold on, let's go back. You weren't paying attention. Okay, to make because remember they kept revolting like in 1848. In order to acknowledge that there are different ethnic groups, they called themselves Austria-Hungary, and Hungary gets like within the empire itself, the Austrian Empire, they get independence, but they have the same king and foreign affairs is done by one. Okay, make sense? Okay, good. Are you with me now? Okay, let's talk about nationalism in Great Britain because there's the Irish question. Woohoo! Way to go, Irish. Ireland in 1801 was joined together into the United Kingdom and governed by a British Parliament. Okay. That's right. So we're going to have a number of Irish nationalists that are going to come and want home rule. And that's what they're asking for. They're not asking necessarily to be not part of the British Empire to start with. They're asking to rule themselves and have their own parliament. Okay. One of these guys is Charles Parnell. We didn't really talk about him in class, but what we did talk about is William Gladstone. And William Gladstone supported Irish home rule because they keep revolting, and he's the Prime Minister of England. He's like, we're just kind of done with it, right? So anyways, what's going to happen here is he keeps putting up a home rule bill that keeps being defeated by the Conservatives, over and over and over again. Eventually, it's going to pass in 1914, but then they suspend it because of World War I, and then the Irish get violent. Welcome to the IRA. Okay, and it is not until about 1918 that they decide in order to get their independence, they need to kill anyone working for the British or anyone British in Ireland. And they're actually pretty good at it. We find that the Irish were quite good. Oh, and my uncle was part of the IRA. Is my great uncle. No, my mom said that my mom was not alive, by the way, but she said that her mom said that the British soldiers came to the farm and they were like tossing like they were looking for him. And by the way, he had bailed out. Like he was there, but they had gone through like the basement. They were like tossing everything out looking for him. Okay, let's go to what's that? No, he got away. Yeah. I'd like to know more, but I don't know. And now everyone's gone, so we can't even ask. Yeah. Okay, national unification and diplomatic tensions. Okay, well, let's start off with the Crimean War. Okay, and this is like a silly squabble. Okay, who has the right to holy places in the Turkish-ruled Jerusalem? But the truth is, this is more over who gets to control the entrance into the Black Sea. Okay, because remember, this is beautiful Mother Russia's little area down here, their warm water port. Okay, so this is Tsar Nicholas I sees this as an opportunity. Okay, Austria felt threatened by Russia. This is a balance of power thing, right? Okay, and therefore France and Britain also jump in. And what we find out is that big bad Russia, who was so good and so strong against Napoleon, they have not industrialized, and therefore they can't really keep up. Okay. The only thing I want you guys to really know about this is, number one, it's the end of the concert of Europe because they're all fighting each other, right? Okay. And by the way, the consequence of that means that we are going to be able to very easily get Germany and Italy unified. Yeah.
If all these other countries are so concerned about balance of power, why would they never like go after the size of Russia? Because Russia's huge.
Well, nobody ever defeats Russia. I mean,
Also, Russia isn't really a problem.
I mean, they're not so concerned about the size of Russia. They're more concerned about Russia encroaching on strategic areas.
Can you actually drive a boat into the Black Sea from like
Yeah, from right here. Yeah,
Little spot in there.
yeah, right here and right here. There's two of them.
There's like a real ocean and a really salt lake.
This is ocean. It's connected. Yeah, it's connected. Okay. All right. So I think the key thing here is, again, you really, if anything, just keep in mind that Russia realizes how far behind they have gotten. Okay. And this is going to lead to reforms like Alexander II getting rid of serfdom. Okay. You guys realize you can't have people moving to factories if you have serfdom because they're tied to the land. Okay. So you really can't do this. All right. And there you go. Okay, don't care about this Napoleon III. This one right here, I think this is our Alexander II forces and launches. If you want to say the one great thing that happens here is these reforms. Okay,
Russians and Turks fighting for the Black Sea area.
it is, yes. It is more like Russia thinking that they can dominate the Turkish areas
And why
now.
does that break the concert of Europe?
Well, the concert of Europe involved. So if the concert of Europe involved France and Austria and, you know what I mean, these big powers, okay, to keep the status quo, okay,
Oh,
and now they're all fighting each other, okay, so that's gone, all right. I'm sorry, it's Prussia, Austria, and Russia, okay, but now they're fighting each other. That's the key thing, all right.
But didn't Russia lose to get embarrassed?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize that like Russia sucked.
They didn't modernize. Yeah. So if anything, so now look at Austria is now isolated from its allies, Russia and Prussia. Okay. And vulnerable to the ideas of both German and Italian unification, which are going to come out of this. Okay. Italian unification. Can we just say they did it?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. By the way, if anything, they used war. Okay. This is that Mazzini, it fails, you know, everyone tried. And what we get in the end, do you guys remember Realpolitik? This idea that we just got to like realistically do what we need to do. It's Camille de Cavour, okay, who is the prime minister who really gets this thing going. Okay. Now, the main obstacles to this is that Austria controls all of this area up in here. Okay. And the Bourbons still owned all of the bottom half down here, like Naples and Sicily. All right. And of course, we've got the Pope in the middle here that owns the Papal States. Okay. So it is the Kingdom of Sardinia that is going to lead this. Okay. He is going to he being Camille de Cavour, teams up with Napoleon III and takes what is today the area of Milan or Lombardy. Then they head south. Okay. While who's the guy who goes up here? Giuseppe Garibaldi. Anyone named Giuseppe, people? He's Italian. Okay. Yeah, like Luigi. We know Luigi is going to be Italian. Okay. Is Luigi mean Louis, I wonder? Hey, Luigi, if you watch this later, just tell us later what Luigi means. Okay. All right. So there you go. Good. Okay. So it's not romantic. Okay. It's realist. Okay. This realpolitik that we talked about before. All right. Shrewd diplomacy. Well-chosen alliances, okay, rather than romantic rebellions and grand proclamations. Okay, there you go. Good. Did this. There, oh, here's the red shirts. Remember the red shirts? You look so cute in your red shirt, Garibaldi. All right. And, oh, and they do set up a constitutional monarchy. Okay. All right. Now, Venetia, okay, which is Venice, okay, remained under Austrian rule up until the point that Prussia goes on their rampage and goes to war, and then they take it. Okay, all right, good. German unification, woo, no fun in this class happens until we get Germany. Still politically divided into, by the way, it's not 300 states like it used to be, it's now like 39, okay? And if you notice here, Prussia's already done a lot of the work, okay? The problem is it's easy to get this northern part because they're all like Lutheran, okay? These Catholics down here, they didn't want anything to do with these guys. They thought they were gonna be like kind of cut out a little bit, okay? So that's what we're gonna have here. Now, of course, the French foreign policy always was to never, ever let them unify, but it doesn't matter. Okay, they're going to do it anyways. Okay, what do we have here? The first stages would be the Zollverein, okay? Then, of course, we've got the master, Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor. He is. Yeah, I think so. It's all about the, yeah, and the eyebrows. I think the eyebrows are outstanding as well. I have a key right here.
Oh, no. I just wanted to ask you something. One of the pictures was very unclear.
Hold on, let me turn this off for a second. Okay, let's go. What's going to happen here is Otto von Bismarck is going to use war. Okay, and he calls it blood and iron. Okay, great questions of the day can't be solved by speeches and majority votes. It's by the great era of 1848 and 1849. Ooh, they might ask you like, oh, what is he referring to here? And then you have to say liberal revolutions in 1948, right? But by blood and iron. Okay, so he really is going to use that. He's going to take the Prussian army out of the garage and really use it to his advantage to do this. Number one, he goes to war with Austria, okay, and creates the Northern German Confederation. Oh, also Denmark, but that's like a little thing, right? Okay, and then later on, he goes to war with France, okay, and that is enough to bring in these Catholic areas down below here, like Württemberg and Bavaria. And there you go. And if you remember, there was a telegram involved. You guys remember that? The Ems dispatch, of which he kind of finagled with it a little bit, finessed it a little bit to make it, yeah, to make it look like someone, the king was insulted. And then, you know what's interesting about Bismarck? Bismarck managed to get everyone to declare war on Prussia. I mean, they declare war on him. It's not the other way around. Okay, anyways, and that's going to create France. Okay, the new emperor, Wilhelm I. There you go. Okay, consequences. Well, first of all, France had to pay a lot of money. Okay, they give up Alsace-Lorraine. Alsace-Lorraine is one of those areas that goes back and forth and back and forth. They tend to be German people there. The name of the city of the biggest town is called Strasbourg, but it was taken by Louis XIV, and then it's taken by Bismarck back into Germany. And then, of course, it obviously after the two world wars, it's part of France again today. Okay, all right. There you go. So now let's talk about the unification of Germany and what it does to the balance of power. This is when the balance of power gets really upset, because we start to get stuff like alliances that are a little iffy. The Three Emperors League is Germany, Russia, and Austria-Hungary, okay? And so this competition between Austria and Hungary, Russia over control of the Balkans is gonna lead to its collapse, okay? Then we have the Triple Alliance. You guys okay over there? Okay. He made it sound like, I can't remember who I think it made it sound like Napoleon III was insulted or something. Okay, at Ems, and therefore the French get all mad and they do you want to check it? Yeah. You could just look on there.
Were Bismarck and like Napoleon III like chilling down in like Africa?
No, that was actually in Berlin. They captured Napoleon III in the war. And then they said to France, he's for ransom. And they said, keep him. Yeah, they didn't want him. Okay, hey, listen. So we've got a bunch of alliances. The main thing about the alliances that I want you guys to realize is that they are engineered by Bismarck in order to isolate France. He wants it so that nobody will be France's friend, okay? And France can have no one to play with in the sandbox at all, okay? And that's, if you notice here, he takes away, so this is what we have here. The Three Emperors League is Russia, but then that disappears, okay? Because these two kind of go at it over the Balkans. So then they set up the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. But then sneaky Bismarck comes in with the reinsurance treaty, which is between Germany and Russia, okay? And that is to make sure that Russia won't become friends with France. Now, here's the deal. This is stupid. Kaiser Wilhelm II let this lapse. He doesn't re-up it. And then that's when France goes in and they get the triple entente, okay? All right. Comparisons, Cavour and Bismarck. Well, they both are into realpolitik, okay? Obviously, they both took advantage of unfolding events, all right? Differences. Cavour doesn't have a powerful military. He actually used the French military to get what he wants. Okay, and Cavour doesn't have significant economic resources. Bismarck has a lot of industrialization in Germany by this time. Okay, up in Prussia, and the wealth of the Zollverein. All right. Let's get out. Let's go home. What do you say?
Yes.
Let's be done.
On my LAQ, and it didn't have a good thesis or context.
Oh, okay. Let me look at it. With this thing here, whatever this is. It's like a box that won't go away. Yes. How'd you do?